This video is about indigeneity. The term indigeneity refers to Indigenous peoples and to the state or quality, quote unquote, of being Indigenous. As for what it means to be Indigenous, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Vince.
Okay, Nitaniko Islamic Sopi. My name is Vincent Wells. I am from the Kainai Nation, one of 4 nations of the Blackfoot Confederacy or Sitsikampi Tabi Confederacy. My pronouns are he, him. My physical description is I'm wearing a vest, a white shirt, blue jeans, runners. My eyes are brown. My hair is combed back and woven into a braid. Yes. Indigenous people are the people who have inhabited a particular area, that is, particular lands, since time immemorial, meaning forever. They are the original residents of a particular region. We capitalize the word Indigenous because it's a proper noun, like words English and French, and we use the word peoples as plural because it recognizes the diversity of Indigenous peoples. We are not all the same. We have our own languages, our own stories, our own beliefs, and our own ways of life. In Canada, Indigenous peoples are generally divided into 3 distinct groups: the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations. The Inuit are the original inhabitants of northern Canada, the Arctic, known as Inuit Nunavut. The Métis are often described as a people with mixed Indigenous and European ancestry. However, not anyone with mixed Indigenous European ancestry is Métis. The Métis are a distinct group of people that came to be, so to speak, in the 18th century, when the fur trade led the union between European men and First Nations women. Over time, this mixed population established their own communities, separate from European and First Nations. They married amongst themselves and developed their own culture and way of life. Both the Inuit and Métis people have their own distinct cultures, their own distinct histories. However, things are a little different when it comes to First Nations. The term First Nations refers to dozens and dozens of individual nations, each with their own distinct culture and history. It is an umbrella term, so to speak. There are actually more than 600 First Nation communities in Canada, representing more than 50 individual nations. Indigeneity means different things to different people. I don't want to generalize, but to me, it means a lot to be a member of the Blackfoot Confederacy. The Blood Tribe, in particular, is the largest, more influential of the 4 nations. The other 3 are the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Amispikani on the US side of the border. The Blood Tribe, also known as the Kainai First Nation, were traditionally known as the Niitsitapi. Together with the other members of the Blackfoot Confederacy, formed the area and sphere of influence of the Blackfoot Confederacy pre-contact. It covered most of Western Canada and well into the US, draping a large part of the northwestern prairies. The culture and tradition of these nations were well maintained despite the impact of the doctrine of discovery, which you can learn more about if you check out the PDF included in this session. So the culture and traditions were well maintained with the exception to the loss of lands and to the big loss of people, given that we're subject to disease and epidemics from traders and from goods coming from eastern trade routes, and to the wildfire of the same proportion from the south. So, to me, being Indigenous means I have a strong relationship with the land, like my ancestors, highly influenced by culture and traditional teaching. And with it, knowledge passed down. It means I am proud of who I am and where I come from.
Let's talk a little bit about the other Jedi Hub lenses, specifically racialized newcomer status. All newcomers, racialized or not, have a responsibility to learn about the land and the people or peoples who are Indigenous to the land. Unless you are Indigenous to this land, the land we call Canada, you are a settler and you're part of settler colonialism. It is important to consider the relationship that Indigenous peoples have with this land and how that relationship differs from the one non-Indigenous people have with the land. For example, the Blackfoot term for the land is mother being. All the beings on the land have an obligation to it. They are bonded to the land. The land is part of the Blackfoot origin story and to their culture and way of life. If you would like to learn more, I encourage you to check out the video in Module 4 titled, "What does it mean to acknowledge the land?" And this brings us to the end of Lesson 12. Thanks for watching, everybody. To learn more about the Indigeneity and the Indigenous peoples of Canada, specifically the Indigenous peoples of Alberta, please refer to the PDF included in this lesson.